Today we are taking up an interesting product like fire loss of profit. So this is technically also a very good subject, and you need to understand this product very carefully because the SMEs and corporates and even the retailers, anybody and everybody can ask. Whosoever is in the commercial field, they can ask for this product. And this is not a new product, in fact, but nowadays very much in fashion because the awareness has increased among all the circles of the commercial institutions. So they prefer to take this policy. Now, what is this policy? That you have to understand carefully, because this is not very popular among the retail segment, but now they are feeling the need of it. So they can ask for this product at any time. So I think this is visible to all of you. You can see to it.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the name of product is fire loss of profit. And when you are selling this, two preconditions are there. You can sell this policy only when a fire policy is already in existence. If it is not, then you can sell simultaneously the fire policy also. Here the fire policy is called as material damage policy because the risk relating to properties is covered under that policy only. This policy does not cover the risk of properties. So this is a combination of fire plus FLOP, and this FLOP cannot be given alone. Fire policy can be given alone to any institution, but FLOP cannot be given alone. And the second precondition is, if claim is paid under fire policy, in case of any loss or damage, if the claim is paid under fire policy, then only the claim will trigger under this FLOP policy. This is a precondition. If the fire policy, on account of the exclusions of the policy, has excluded or rejected or repudiated any claim, that loss will also not be considered under the FLOP policy. So these two preconditions are there. And this is not with SGI alone, this is with the entire general insurance industry. Because these are the two basic conditions of this policy, that without fire policy, this policy cannot be given. Secondly, if the fire policy has admitted the claim, then only the FLOP claim will be paid. Both claims are different. Fire policy will pay the fire losses or the losses covered under the fire policy. FLOP policy will pay the claim which is covered under the FLOP policy. Nature of claims are different, but coverage is different, policy is different, and if the fire policy is admitting the loss, then only the loss of profit will be entertained under the FLOP policy. So this has to be very clear in your mind. Secondly, you may face a confusion because the buyer may ask a policy by different name. For example, business interruption insurance, consequential loss insurance, or loss of profit insurance. In that case, you don't need to provide three policies because all these three names are synonym to one only. Means this policy is known by these three different names. If anybody is asking for business interruption insurance, that means fire loss of profit policy is required. Similarly, if consequential loss insurance is required, in that case also you have to provide the fire loss of profit policy. But it is different in case it is required with the machineries. If it is required with the machineries, then it becomes machinery loss of profit policy. So only two provisions are there. This loss of profit policy can be given either with the fire policy or with the machinery policy. So in that case, if you are giving it with the machineries, machinery policy has to be there in existence, then only you will provide MLOP policy. So this is a non-motor product which is provided either with the fire insurance or with the machinery insurance. Concept is clear, because you may get confused otherwise if any corporate is asking for a business interruption insurance or consequential loss insurance. You don't need to look for any other policy. The policy is the same, that is loss of profit insurance.
Sir, here the main difference, sir, come to the previous one, sir.
Yeah, main difference is?
Main difference is like MLOP is something related to machinery. Machinery, that is there any specific machinery or in any kind of
any kind of machinery which is covered under the machinery breakdown insurance policy.
Okay, now the coming to second point.
Yes.
Normal fire policy stands for, that is related to stock or related to building?
No. Fire policy covers building, plant and machinery, furniture fixtures and stock.
Okay, that is something, okay. So that is stand for, there is no policy for a stock. When you say stock, only for machinery. Machinery, furniture fixture, building and plant and machinery you are talking.
That is part of fire insurance.
Okay, right. So there is no stock and there is nothing called this coverage is available.
Stock may or may not be there, but if it is there, that will be covered under the fire policy.
Right. Next one, there is a building along with this stock there, and there is a standard fire policy, standard fire and allied peril policy. In that case, again FLOP policy can be given?
Fire policy can be given to standalone building, to standalone plant and machineries, or with stock, or with furniture fixtures. So all these four components are insurable under the fire insurance. But machinery is meant only for those machineries or plants which are installed or already in the operation, not going to be installed, which are already in the operation.
Okay.
With that case only, this MLOP policy can be given.
Right.
Now, there are four ways to sell this policy, and these are: suppose you are giving an industrial all-risk policy to any corporate, because this industrial all-risk policy can be given to corporate only. Here the minimum sum insured requirement is 50 crore and above. So any retailer cannot take this policy. But if you are giving a IR policy to any corporate, that means that IR policy is already having a fire loss of profit section, and which is automatically there, which is not the optional, cannot be excluded, which is part of the policy, because this IR policy covers many sections like fire, IR, machineries, burglaries, like that. That is an umbrella policy, so it is already there. You don't need to give a separate FLOP policy for that. Second method is, if you are giving a fire policy to any factory, small medium enterprises, commercial institutions, in that case you can have another proposal form signed by the insured, and you can give a FLOP policy separately. Because a FLOP policy can be given together with fire policy only. So fire policy is already there, you can give the FLOP policy if the customer demands. And even you can propose from yourself that if you are taking a fire policy, it is always better to take a FLOP policy also, which will cover your loss of profit in case of any loss caused by the fire insurance perils. So this is the second method. The third one is business protector policy plus FLOP. This is typical in the sense the business protector policy, having 12 sections, does not have a section of fire loss of profit, because this is our very old policy, and that time the loss of profit section was not very much in the news. So that time this section was not included in the business protector policy. But in case any customer want, with the business protector policy, you can have a separate proposal form and give this policy FLOP with the BPP, because fire section is already there in the business protector policy, so FLOP policy can be given. This is third method. Fourth method is accept business protector policy In all your package policies, this fire loss of profit section is there. May it be a city shopkeeper insurance, a hotel and restaurant insurance, education shield insurance. So any package policy is there. This section is already included. And the condition is, in all these package policies, first section is mandatory, that is fire insurance. Minimum 2 sections are required, means in addition to fire, any section can be taken by the insured. So when this feasibility is there to choose any section, customer may choose FLOP also. Because the policy have 14 or 15 sections, this is as per the choice of the customer to choose minimum 2 or maximum all, according to his requirement and affordability. So all those package policies in addition to business product policy are already having this section. There is no need to get a separate proposal form. Only the customer has to select the FLOP section, because the fire section is already taken, that is mandatory. Without that, this policy cannot be issued. So now these are the 4 ways how you can sell the FLOP policy. But if you want to sell the FLOP policy, that is only with the machinery policy. IR policy also provides, but normally companies restrict it. On requirement, this section can be given in the IR itself, means machinery as well as FLOP, but not in any other policy. Because unless the machinery insurance is there, machinery breakdown insurance, MLOP cannot be given. So these are the 4 ways. Now, if you are giving FLOP policy to any shopkeeper, shops and showrooms, you can give. So shopkeeper is a small segment, a retail segment. The investment in the shop or showroom is not in volume. It is very limited. If you find a showroom, maybe of the saris or for the electronic gadgets or for ready-made garments, investments normally you will find 5 crores, 8 crores, 10 crores. But as compared to industries, factories and corporates, there the investment is very high. So for shopkeepers, if you are giving the FLOP policy, there are certain conditions. And within that parameter only that you can provide this FLOP section. These are 4 conditions. First, sum insured will not exceed 25% of the fire sum insured. Means, if a showroom owner of electronic gadgets has taken a fire policy of 5 crore, and out of that 4 crore is the sum insured of fire section. So in that case, you can give the FLOP to him for only 1 crore. So that is 25% of the sum insured of fire section. So this restriction is first, more than 25% of the fire sum insured, you will not give the policy for any retailer or shopkeeper. This restriction is only for the shopkeepers or showroom owners, not for any other. For any other commercial institution like college, university, hotels, restaurants, factories, industries, there is no limit for sum insured. Secondly, for shopkeepers, indemnity period will not exceed 3 months. Indemnity period is optional in the FLOP policy. It is selected by the customer. It could be 3 months to 3 years, but for shopkeepers, this is restricted to 3 months only. This is a period which is required to restore the business, and for shopkeepers, normally within 3 months they restart their business if it is damaged by fire or by flood or by cyclone or by any other reason. So normally within 3 months they start their business. Premium rate for shopkeepers for FLOP section is 360 rupees per lakh plus GST. For all others, this premium rate is not fixed. Only for shopkeepers it is fixed, that is 360 rupees per lakh plus GST. And the minimum premium limit is 500 plus GST. The reason is, in the retail segment like shopkeepers or showroom owners, the investment is not very high. So even if customer who is earning 10 lakh rupees per annum, he can also take the FLOP section. But all these four conditions will apply there. So these are the restrictions applicable only to the shopkeeper insurance policy. Now,
सर
yeah,
ठीक है मिनिमम लास्ट स्लाइड पे आपने बताया अभी मिनिमम प्रीमियम इज 500 रुपीस एंड 500 मिनिमम प्रीमियम तो समझता हूँ
normally it will come higher. This is only the restriction for the, if you should not give it for the shopkeepers who are earning very less. What happened? My voice is audible to all of you?
yes sir
Yes, sir.
So this minimum premium limit is because of this reason that you should not give a policy for a very small shop owner who is not even earning that much of profit, where the premium is coming only 300 or 400. If it is 300 or 400, in that case also you will charge minimum 500 plus GST. Otherwise, in every case, this will be more than that. Okay. So this FLOP policy means this is a policy which is covering only the financial losses due to interruption in business caused by loss or damage to the insured property, covered under the fire policy which is given together with the FLOP policy. This fire policy could be standard fire and special peril policy, Sushma Udyam Suraksha policy, Laghu Udyam Suraksha policy, whatever it is. So that policy has to be there, then only this policy is given. And if the loss is caused by any of the insured peril, then first of all that fire loss will be settled. If that claim is payable, in that case only the loss of profit claim will be paid. In fire policy you will find the separate blocks. Blocks like building, plant and machinery, stocks, furniture, fixture and fittings, and even other contents. So the purpose of FLOP policy is to protect the insured against loss of income or loss of profit. If the firm is running in income, then only this policy has to be given, because this is covering only the loss of income. And loss of income is caused, suppose the fire is there, or flood is there, or the cyclone is there, or earthquake is there. Business has stopped functioning. There is interruption, and because of that there is no income. So that kind of loss is payable under this policy and nothing. For every other kind there is a fire policy. So to whom you will give it? First of all, the insured or the proposer who is having a fire policy, or if he is not having, he is simultaneously taking a fire policy. And in all probability that fire policy should be from us only. There is no restriction if it is with any other insurer. But in that case we will ask for the fire policy. Without that we cannot give it. So in all probability it should be with us only. That is better. Because otherwise we are not aware for what period that is, and period is matching or not, and if the fire policy expires in between, FLOP policy runs, or if the FLOP policy expires in between, only fire policy runs, then the combination will be spoiled. Second condition is, proposer's business must continue. You will not give this policy to those firms who have already shut down their shops. They have already closed their businesses. They are asking the loss of profit policy to cover their losses. You cannot give it. because that is already closed. There is no income as on date. We are not insuring losses. We are insuring only loss of income. If there is no income, no policy. And third condition is this business must continue. His business must be continued. Continued, then only he will earn the income. So all these three conditions are must. Fire policy has to be there. If it is not there, take to the fire policy simultaneously. Second thing, business must continue. It should not be stopped. And third thing, he must be earning income or profit out of this business. It may be a shop, it may be a hospital, hotel, college, or any other institution, factory, industry like that. All these three conditions have to be there. Now, what this policy is in fact covering, try to understand with this image. This is showing net profit or net loss. If any firm is giving the gross profit more than fixed cost and standing charges, it means that firm is earning net profit because their gross profit is greater than the expenses. And if any firm whose fixed cost or expenses are greater than the gross profit, in that case, that is running into the losses. I will elaborate it with figures now. Try to understand. Suppose my gross profit is 100 rupees. My expenses and fixed cost is 70 rupees. It means I am earning 30 rupees as net profit. But if my expenses and fixed costs are 100 rupees and my gross profit is only 70 rupees or 60 rupees, in that case I am running into the losses. My net loss is 30 or 40 rupees. So we are ensuring only this portion, this is net profit. And that will come on comparison of these both things. Net profit means what loss he has actually suffered. So there is a difference between both the policies. Material damage policy, that is fire policy, will pay for the losses caused by the fire perils. And those losses would be to the property, to the machinery, to the stock, to the furniture fixtures. But FLOP policy has nothing to do with all those expenses. FLOP policy will pay only for the loss of gross profit following the operation of the insured peril. And even if the increased cost of working is more than your gross profit, it means that is running into the losses. So that loss is paid. But the claim condition is because the fire policy must pay the claim, then only the FLOP policy will pay the claim. If you say that increased cost of working could be without any fire loss, in that case also the claim will not be paid. Increased cost of working must be only because there is some loss to the property or to the machinery or to the furniture. Because of that the cost has increased. That loss is payable. I showed you the flow chart. How this loss will be covered under the policy. So see, first of all there is a material damage policy, that is fire policy. If by any insured peril of the fire policy there is an indemnifiable loss, indemnifiable means loss payable under the fire policy. Is indemnifiable loss under the fire policy? So if there is any loss that could be indemnified under the fire policy, and because of that there is interruption in production process or interruption in process or interruption in the shop, Suppose a flood has damaged, shop is closed for 2 months. When it is renovated, new stock is brought, then only it will restart business. So there is interruption. For 2 months there is no sale, there is no income. So because of that indemnifiable loss, there is interruption in the process. And since the interruption is there, the reduction in sales turnover is there, reduction in manufacturing or production is there. And because of that reduction, there is a loss of gross profit. That means first loss is payable under the material damage policy, that is fire policy. And the last loss is payable under the fire loss or profit policy. But the loss must be only in this sequence. If these first two things are not there, this policy will not pay the claim. And if these two things are there, and because of the interruption in the process, income has reduced, that is payable under the FLP policy. So this flow chart itself is very clear, which is showing every aspect how the loss will become payable under the FLP policy, and what loss would be paid under the fire policy, how the sequence will work, under what manner this sequence will work, and how both the claim will be separated at a stage where the claim under the fire policy is paid. If it is not paid, the FLP policy will also reject the claim. So now, when you are giving the fire policy, let's see how the sum insured will be decided. So sum insured depends upon the annual anticipated gross profit. Say any firm, suppose a college. A college is earning 2 lakh rupees per month. Now the gross profit of that college is 24 lakh rupees annual. If the college wants, he can take the FLP policy for 24 lakh. But no, we are not restricting. We are saying if there is a possibility to increase the business and you are expecting this year that your business would be 36 lakh, you take the policy for your anticipated growth, 36 lakh. Or on the contrary, if any of your stream you are closing, suppose MBA you have stopped, you are expecting that your profit will be reduced this year, it may be 12 lakh only, you can take the policy for FLP policy for 12 lakh only. So the annual anticipated gross profit means the customer better knows how much his anticipated gross profit would be the year there at the end of the financial year. So he will decide the sum insured, how much sum insured he wants to take. From insurer side, there is no compulsion at all. Now there are 3 different periods under this policy, and all the periods are important. First one is as usual policy period. Since the policy is annual, so 12 months period would be there. Say for example, policy is taken on 1st January 2024. The policy will expire on 31st December 2024. So this is a normal as usual policy period. But second one is indemnity period. The indemnity period means the period opted by the insured to plan the restoration of business in case it is damaged by any of the insured peril. So it represents the insured estimation of the maximum period required for the normal business operations to be restored following a loss. It could be minimum 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. The 3 months restriction is only for the shopkeepers or showrooms. This is second indemnity period. And the third one is interruption period. Now, interruption period means actual period for that the business was stopped or interrupted. The actual period of interruption is starting from the date of loss till the date normal operation has been restored. And this interruption period could be more than the indemnity period, it could be less than the indemnity period. But the insurance company will settle the claim for lower of the two. Means the insured has selected indemnity period as 6 months. But actually business was interrupted for 3 months. In the 4th month, he restored the business and it was started. So business interruption period is 4 months. Indemnity period is 6 months. Which is lowest? Interruption period 4 months. Insurance company will pay the claim for 4. In a very simple manner. So all these 3 periods are very important under the fire loss of profit policy. Policy period, indemnity period, and interruption period. Now I will show you an example of these 3 periods. Let's see. Policy period is January 1 to 31st December. 12 months. Okay. Now on March 1st, there is fire in the factory. So the loss is there. And this loss was continued. The normal business was restored on February 15. It was a very long period. It took 15 months to restore the business. Business was back to full steam in the 15 months. But the insured selected the indemnity period at the time of taking the policy of 9 months only. Insured selected in the proposal form the indemnity period of 9 months only. But because of the circumstances, he could not restore the business because the labor problem was there, electricity problem was there, water problem was there, stock problem was there. So the period continued for a longer time. Now all these 3 periods are clear. Policy period is 1 year. Indemnity period selected by the insured is 9 months. Actual interruption period is 15 months. Now policy says indemnity period and interruption period, whichever is lower. Insurance company will settle the claim for the lower of the 2. So here the insurance company will pay the claim for 9 months only, not for 15 months. All these 3 periods are explained clearly. One more example. Interruption period means actually for what period the business was stopped. It is a period which starts from the date of loss and ends with the business achieves the same production level where it was prior to a loss at the insured premises. Quantum may differ, but the production level has started. So the production earlier was there. Now the loss has suffered. Business has to be restarted and recovered. Here the indemnity period could be less or the interruption period could be less. Whichever is lower, the claim will be settled for that period only. Now during this process, there are certain expenses even if the business has stopped. Those expenses will continue to incur. Say suppose my factory is there, textile mill, and there is a fire. So due to fire, the factory production has stopped. But still, I have to pay for the insurance premium, for the rent of the building, for the salary of my seniors, for the dividend, for the interest on loan, for the administrative cost, for vehicle rent. All these expenses will continue. production is there or not, it makes no difference. So the fixed expenses which continue to occur irrespective of the production level are known as standing expenses. The other expenses are variable expenses. These are the expenses which vary with the production level. Means no production, no cost. For example, you don't need to pay for raw material, for freight, for electricity, for labor, because the production is not there. Plant is shut down, no manufacturing is there. So these are the expenses which will stop, and these are known as the variable expenses. These vary with the production level. No production, no cost. Now this companies are maintaining their accounts in various methods. Nowadays everything has been systematized and the account operations are there on the software itself. So the calculation of turnover in comparison to gross profit depends upon the what system of accounting you are maintaining. The gross profit can be compared with the turnover and there could be a rate of gross profit. So that has to find out what amount of gross profit is there and how much it is in terms of percentage over the turnover. So gross profit means what? This is related to accounting portion because the actual loss has to be paid, and with that loss cannot be worked out without the comparison of expenses and gross profit and net profit. So those firms who are not maintaining their accounts, this claim cannot be paid. Because at the time of giving the policy, you don't need to ask for any accounting book. But at the time of settlement of claim, insurance company will definitely ask how much you were earning, how much you have suffered the loss, how much claim is paid. That depends upon your accounting work. So it is the amount by which the sales turnover exceeds the manufacturing cost. For example, sales turnover is 100 rupees and manufacturing cost is only 50 rupees. So remaining 50 rupees is your gross profit. Now this gross profit may include your standing charges, your net profit, your increased cost of working. So out of that gross profit you can exclude them. Then only the actual loss will be there. But if your manufacturing cost or the sales turnover, whichever is higher, that will decide your gross profit. If sales turnover is higher, then certainly you are going to get the gross profit. But if the manufacturing cost has increased over the sales turnover, then you are running into the losses. Say suppose sales turnover is 100 rupees and manufacturing cost is 150 rupees. Means you are going in the minus. Now, indemnity period insurers provide as per the choice of the customer. Suppose the customer says, I want minimum 2 years indemnity period. My factory is a chemical factory, if it is burned, or say my factory is a paper mill, and paper is highly inflammable item, easily burnable item you can say. So if there is a fire into one section, the entire factory will catch the fire. So I need indemnity period of 1.5 years or 2 years or 2.5 years. We can provide it. Up to 3 years we can provide it. But in that case, sum insured would increase. For 12 years, there is no change in the sum insured. For 1.5 years, it will become 1.5 times. For 24 months, it will become double. For 30 months, it will become 2.5 times. In the same proportion, it will increase. Now the question is, what is covered under the FLOP policy? So the first question is, the policy will pay the claim only when the fire policy is paying the claim.
Sir, excuse me, sir. You just told that in case of 3 years, if there's a chemical factory or a plant, a paper factory, then we can give the immunity for up to 3 years. But in that case, if somebody wants to take it for 3 years, he has to get the sum insured for fire for 3 times.
Yes.
Cover the full 3 years.
Yes.
But the policy will be validated only till 12 months.
Policy period will remain the same. Only the sum insured will be doubled. Tripled.
Sir, if the sum insured is double, the premium gets high on every cost. Not
Yes.
only the
Premium will increase in same the
but
proposal.
then he is going to give a premium 3 times.
Premium will increase because the longer indemnity period is required. Policy period will remain the same. If we are asking for an indemnity period of 12 months only or 9 months only, the premium will remain the same. But if we are asking for 18 months or 24 months, premium will be increased. Okay. So here, now, if the claim is payable under the fire policy, then only the claim will be paid under the FLOP policy. That means all perils covered under the material damage policy, that is fire policy, are also covered under the FLOP policy. Even if there is any add-on covered with the fire policy and the loss is paid due to that add-on, that is also covered automatically under the fire policy, FLOP policy. It means FLOP policy triggers if claim is payable under the fire policy only. So whatever is covered under the fire policy, the same is covered under the FLOP policy. Say for example, student fire and special peril policy is given. Maybe the sum insured is 50 per perils. So that standard fire and special peril policy has already 12 perils. If the customer has taken any add-on cover out of these 15, that is also covered. Because all these 15 add-on covers are available with the standard fire and special peril policy only, not with the Sukshmuddham and Laghu Udyam. Because most of the add-on covers are merged into the Sukshmuddham and Laghu Udyam, like forest fire, impact damage, spontaneous combustion, terrorism, earthquake. They are already covered. They are part of the inbuilt coverage. But in standard fire and special peril policy, the condition is same. So these are automatically covered. And the loss payable due to fire policy because of any add-on cover or because of any inbuilt cover is also covered under the FLOP policy. That is very clear. Now, when you are giving the FLOP policy, what basic information is required to the underwriter to quote the or to generate the quote? So the detail will be asked in the proposal form. What is the fire policy? Fire policy detail. What accounting method is adopted? What standing charges are there? Because the standing charges differs item to item, company to company, unit to unit. What is the gross profit? Gross profit is only for the awareness. Not mandatorily that the same gross profit should be the sum insured. Insured can take anticipatory gross profit as sum insured. What is turnover? Whether unit is continuously working and what add-on cover the fire policy is having. So this basic information is required only on the basis of this information the underwriter will generate the quote. Now, FLOP policy also have some kind of exclusions, and the first one is compulsory access. This compulsory access is typical in the FLOP policy because here loss is paid for the period, and period is decided on the basis of the indemnity period or interruption period, whichever is lower. So the compulsory access is deducted in the days. And these days are 7 days. This is also known as the time excess. The FLOP policy carries access in days. It is known as the time access, and time access is 7 days. The intention of access is to avoid small losses and to take some share of loss in major claims beyond 7 days. Suppose the claim payable is for the 6 months. So 7 days loss will be deducted, and for the rest of the month period, the claim will be settled. In addition to it, suppose the insured firm says, I have no fund to restore my business, claim will not be paid. Because unless the indemnity period and interruption period are compared, claim cannot be settled. If he says, my license has expired, I cannot restart the business, I have certain problem like computer data or processing equipment, under these circumstances, insurer will not settle the claim. Now, this FLOP policy also have got some add-on covers. Add-on covers are always optional. Insured one, if he can take, otherwise he may. But the add-on covers provided with the FLOP policy are typical, which are not available with the fire policy. And they are on the practical basis. Normally when you are restoring the business, what problem would you face? Electricity, gas, water supply. If the delay is caused due to these factors, you can take add-on cover. In that case, the delay will also be covered. Damage to customers' premises and damage to suppliers' premises. These are very interesting. Damage to suppliers' premises and damage to customers' premises. Sometimes what happens? Say suppose my bike manufacturing company is there. I have taken fire policy as well as FLOP policy. Now my bike manufacturing company is manufacturing the bikes, 100 bikes in a month. But I have given a contract to a supplier who is supplying me the head assembly, and the rest of the bike is manufactured at my level. Head assembly he is providing, because there are electrical items and fiber items like that. So every month he is giving me the 100 head assemblies. Then only my bike is completed. Now suppose there is a fire in the supplier's premises. So his turnover is stopped, and unless he is giving me the head assembly, my turnover is also stopped. My business has gone into the losses. So because of the customers and suppliers, my business should not suffer. I can take the add-on covers. Otherwise, I do not have any insurable interest in the customer's premises and supplier's premises. For this purpose only, these add-on covers are provided. And the last one is very interesting, that is auditor's fee. This is very common also, and people who are taking the FLOP policy, they opt for it. Reason is, for any commercial unit which is taking the claim in the FLOP policy, he has to submit the books of accounts where it will be proved that the loss is this much. And these accounts are managed by the Munimji, accountants, chartered accountants, or auditors. And they charge a fee for that. This fee is neither payable in the fire policy nor in the FLOP policy. So to cover this fee, insured can take add-on. Now to simplify, policy is for 1 year. Short-term policy can be given if the suppose the insured says his fire policy is remaining for 6 months only, but he wants a FLOP policy. For 6 months, a FLOP policy can also be given. Because the condition is fire policy and the FLOP policy both should coincide. The period of a policy should coincide. Otherwise, there is no use. If the period of fire policy has expired, FLOP policy is useless. If the period of FLOP policy is expired, you cannot take the FLOP claim. Maybe fire policy is running. So period must coincide. That is always better. Coverage is same under both the policies. Compulsory deductible is 7 days minimum. Declined category of risk, wherever the company cannot give the fire policy, a FLOP policy can also not be given. Because the fire policy is not there, a FLOP policy will not be there. So for example, for mobile shop, cracker shop, plastic manufacturing units, standalone warehouses, shop dealing in hazardous goods, you are not giving the fire policy. When you are not giving the fire policy, you cannot give the fire policy also. So documents required in such a position are slightly different. Now I give you a practical example. Try to understand how this policy is given. Every aspect I am explaining you in detail, so you should not have any confusion. Say for example, by an engineering workshop. And in last year my gross profit was 20 lakh rupees. I have taken a fire policy which is covering the earthquake and terrain also. Maybe Sukshma Udyam structure. And I have selected indemnity period of 3 months only. So how this will be rated? Suppose the rate provided to me is 1.08 by the underwriting department. 1.08 rupees per million. Rates are in million. How I will charge the premium? 1.08 upon 1000 into 20 lakh. My premium would be 2160 plus GST. That's all. Simple method of calculating the premium. Now, how the claim will be settled? Say suppose for my firm I have taken a policy of FLP for 30 lakh. I have selected 3 months indemnity period. Fire policy is there already there. It is covering the earthquake, STFI, and etc. So as per surveyor, the cause of loss in my firm was flood. And that flood had caused me the loss. Due to that, my factory was closed for 8 weeks. There is no other insurance. Now for 8 weeks, I am filing the claim. So what the insurance company will do? First of all, insurance company will compare which period is longer. Indemnity period selected is 3 months. Actual interruption period is 8 weeks. So in 3 months there are 12 weeks. But the actual loss is for 8 weeks only. It means insurance company has come to the conclusion that the loss payable is for only 8 weeks. Now out of 8 weeks, the compulsory excess is 7 days, 1 week. So 1 week is minus. For 7 weeks only the claim is payable. My sum insured is 30 lakhs. If I calculate this 30 lakh into the weeks, I have to divide it by 52 because in a year, 52 weeks are there. So 52 upon 30 lakhs means 57,962 rupees per week. Claim payable is for 7 weeks. 57,962 into 7 means claim payable is only 4,03,846. Premium calculation is simple. Claim calculation is simple. Policy is simple. But only 2 conditions are mandatory. Without fire policy, you cannot give it. If the claim payable under fire policy, then only the FLP policy will pay. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask.